Hello, world, and welcome back to another episode from Beyond the Matrix. My name is Sarah, and today we're going to be talking about the sun for Sun's Day. And currently, the sun is in the sign of Aquarius, which is the sign of the water bearer or the humanitarian, and is approaching a conjunction with the planet Saturn. These are the weekend warriors, Saturn and the sun. But before the sun reaches that conjunction with Saturn, he's going to be making other aspects, such as this square with the moon. And a square between the sun and the moon, it's going to be somewhat of a conflict, although the moon does move very quickly, so it will be short-lived. But the sun is the archetype of the father, one of the archetypes of the father, and the moon is the archetype of the mother, one of the archetypes of the mother. This is also the ideal to which we strive, the sun, versus our emotions, the moon. And with the moon in the sign of Scorpio during this square, it can be intense. It's a word that is often used to describe Scorpio. And the sun in Aquarius is a bit detached. This might be somewhat of a challenge as we begin the week. Mondays are always difficult anyway, so no surprise there. By the time we reach Thursday, this will be the day that the sun moves into a conjunction with Saturn. So I talked a little about Sun Saturn in the video that I made yesterday that I still haven't released, but I'm going to today. And in that, I describe some of the themes of Sun and Saturn. And by the time we make it to next Sun's Day, the sun will have moved to the sign of Pisces. I like the fact that Sun, S-U-N, is a homophone to the word sun, S-O-N, because the thing about Saturn is he was the son of Uranus, the sky god, and he killed Uranus and then received the prophecy that the same thing would happen to him, that one of his children would kill him as well. And so there's a changing of the guards that is represented in that mythology. And with Saturn changing signs and the sun now moving into Pisces, it seems like a good time to read through the myth of Theogony by Hesiod. And I guess the combination of myths that Hesiod wrote in his poem. And I want to read from that. So there's this really great resource that we all have access to called archive.org, which is like having a library in your home. And so I found Theogony that was translated by Norman Oliver. And so that's what I'm going to be reading from chapter 2 of Theogony to describe this prophecy of Saturn and Uranus, because again, Saturn and Uranus are co-rulers of Aquarius, because once Uranus was found, they named it after the god Uranus, even though that was the father of Saturn. So it's a little bit convoluted. There's also two Cronus. There's Cronus and Kronos, and those two myths have somewhat been conflated as well. So the story about Saturn is just kind of all over the place. But instead of trying to dissect the myths, I would like to just read straight from the original source text to feel into the poetry of this mythology. So, chapter 2. First of all, the void came into being. Next, broad-bosomed earth, the solid and eternal home of all, and Eros, desire, the most beautiful of the immortal gods, who in every man and every god softens the sinews and overpowers the prudent purpose of the mind. Out of the void came darkness and black night, and out of the night came light and day. Her children conceived after union and love with darkness. Earth first produced starry sky, equal in size with herself, to cover her on all sides. Next, she produced the tall mountains, the pleasant haunts of the gods, and also gave birth to the barren waters, sea with its raging surges, all this without the passion of love. Thereafter, she lay with sky and gave birth to ocean with its deep current, Coeus and Creus and Hyperion and Iapetus, Thea and Rhea and Themis and Mnemosyne. Also golden-crowned Phoebe and lovely Tethys. After these came cunning Cronus, the youngest and boldest of her children, and he grew to hate the father who had begotten him. Earth also gave birth to the violent Cyclops, Thunderer Lightner, and bold Flash, who made and gave to Zeus the thunder and the lightning bolt. They were like the gods in all respects, except that a single eye stood in the middle of their foreheads, and their strength and power and skill were in their hands. There were also born to earth and sky 3 more children, big, strong, and horrible: Cottus and Briareus and Gyes. This unruly brood had 100 monstrous hands sprouting from their shoulders, and filthy heads on top of their shoulders growing from their sturdy bodies. They had monstrous strength to match their huge size. Chapter 3. Of all the children born of earth and sky, these were the boldest, and their father hated them from the beginning. As each of them was about to be born, Sky would not let them reach the light of the day. Instead, he hid them all away in the bowels of Mother Earth. Sky took pleasure in doing this evil thing. In spite of her enormous size, Earth felt the strain within her and groaned. Finally, she thought of an evil and cunning stratagem. She instantly produced a new metal, gray steel, and made a huge sickle. Then she laid the matter before her children. The anguish in her heart made her speak boldly. My children, you have a savage father. If you will listen to me, we may be able to take vengeance for his evil outrage. He was the one who started using violence. This was what she said, but all the children were gripped by fear, and not one of them spoke a word. Then great Cronus, the cunning trickster, took courage and answered his good mother with these words. Mother, I am willing to undertake and carry through your plan. I have no respect for our infamous father, since he was the one who started using violence. This was what he said, and enormous Earth was very pleased. She hid him in ambush and put in his hand the sickle with jagged teeth, and instructed him fully in her plot. Huge Sky came drawing night behind him and desiring to make love. He lay on top of the earth, stretched all over her. Then, from his ambush, his son reached out with his left hand and with his right took the huge sickle with its long, jagged teeth and quickly sheared the organs from his own father and threw them away, backward over his shoulder. But that was not the end of them. The drops of blood that spurted from them were all taken in by Mother Earth. And in the course of the revolving years, she gave birth to the powerful Erinyes and the huge giants with shining armor and long spears. As for the organs themselves, for a long time they drifted around the sea, just as they were when Cronus cut them off with a steel edge and threw them from the land into the waves of the ocean. Then white foam issued from the divine flesh, and in the foam a girl began to grow. First she came near to holy Cythera, then reached Cyprus, the land surrounded by sea. There she stepped out, a goddess, tender and beautiful, and round her slender feet the green grass shot up. She is called Aphrodite by gods and men, because she grew in the froth, and also Cytherea, because she came near to Cythera, and the Cyprian, because she was born in watery Cyprus. Eros and beautiful passion were her attendants both at birth and at her first going to join the family of the gods. The rights and privileges assigned to her from the beginning and recognized by men and gods are these: to preside over the whispers and smiles and tricks which girls employ, and the sweet delight and tenderness of love. Great Father Sky called his children the Titans because of his feud with them. He said that they blindly had tightened the noose and had done a savage thing for which they would have to pay in time to come. So that's the story of Cronus stepping up to save his mom. And it's interesting because the only other aspects going on is aspects with the moon. Aquarius is an air sign, so it's very much to do with the sky. I like these themes. I like a lot of the themes that are going on. Let's see where Venus is. Ooh, Venus is, interesting. Yeah, because Venus is going through her conjunction with Neptune, which is Poseidon, the god of the, the water, the ocean. So it's like, the birth of Venus, Aphrodite. So what a great myth to read today, although not very much of it, but just chapters 2 and 3. But in that myth, there's a lot of imagery. And so this is not literal death of people. Hopefully, death comes to us all. So, but what I'm saying is, this isn't advice to go take people out, right? Duh. That should go without saying. It's the start of an interesting week for sure. Things are starting to shift in astrology, as you can see. I mean, we've got Pluto that's going to be moving into Aquarius, Saturn that's going to be moving into Pisces. Those are the two really big ones because those are outer planets and they don't shift they don't shift signs very frequently. Saturn, it takes like 30 years to get to the same place, so it's every 2.5-ish years that it's moving signs. And of course, what happened 2.5 years ago? Does anybody remember? I don't know. What happened 2.5 years ago? Do you remember? Okay. And then Pluto shifts signs I don't know if Pluto's on the same kind of time schedule, but it's been in the sign of Capricorn for 15 years. And so it takes 250 years for Pluto to return to the same place in the sky. So we had our last conjunction of Mercury and Pluto a couple of days ago. We're having our last conjunction of the Sun and Saturn. This won't be the last one, but Venus and Neptune are conjoining. There's a lot of interesting conjunctions happening right now. And they really do seem to align with that myth. Of course, I'm looking for patterns and that's why I see them. So take that with a grain of salt. This is not scientific. This is artistic and somewhat prophetic, but the idea here is to take the patterns from the myth and apply them to your life in some sort of way, and just kind of recognize the internal struggle between dualities, whatever those dualities might be, father, son, sky, earth. So I see this as changing of the guards, a new reign, changing of the guards. That's my prophecy. In some sense, in some way, the ideal to which we strive is making a big change. And it's going from an air sign, which is very intellectual and very cerebral in the mind, thoughts. And it's moving into this water sign of Pisces. It's deep emotions and spirituality. It's going to get interesting. I'm looking forward to finding the patterns in the headlines. So that's what I have for today. Talking about a lot about Saturn, really, but just kind of that idea of how the sun represents the ideal to which we strive, and the ideal changing, the ideal to which we strive, like the plot of the story. There's so that plot twist of Mother Earth saying, enough is enough. Your father's a savage. I need one of you to take this sickle I've made and do away with him. And Cronus, the bravest of all of his siblings, volunteers and says, I'll do it. And interesting, isn't it, that from the killing of Father Sky, Aphrodite is born. Beauty. Love. I've had a lot of discussions with women about how we feel hesitant to reveal this side of us, this crazy wild side, because of how we are received by men, whether it's being misread or in a way that we're perceived as maybe giving off signals, giving mixed signals, when really we're just trying to be ourselves, or being criticized by men for bringing maybe less than scientific facts to the table, you could say. And so a lot of us women feel like we have to over intellectualize things or explain things away, when that's not the feminine way. Femininity is open and receptive and accepting, and it's not high heels and Prada bags. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Or red lipstick. I like red lipstick sometimes, but it's not what defines femininity. And so a lot of us are trying to work with, describing femininity. And it's like, but you can't have a textbook definition of femininity, And I think that this myth really does it for me, with Mother Earth being like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's kill him. And I'm not going to kill anybody, obviously. But I can sense the sentiment of, he's a savage. Not men, I should say. And not even the masculine energy. But what it's turned into, to include in women. Women have taken the feminist flag and destroyed it, made it something masculine, aggressive, mean, and damning. It's just something that's easier for women to embody. It's not to say that men don't have this feminine yin energy about them, but it's something where we're starting to realize we need to make space for it. We need to make space for Mother Earth. We need to make space for femininity, because that's what makes life beautiful. It is. Women make life beautiful. Femininity makes life beautiful. Okay, Cronus. We're taking a stand. Okay, and that's the thing about Aquarius. So the sun being in Aquarius, there's rebellion, there's rising up, there's revolution. We're going for it. So it just needs to be said. It needs to be said more often that the feminine, the yin, is getting drowned out by hustle culture and, work harder. it's so conflicting even in me because I'm a pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of person, not to other people, but to myself. I'm very disciplined with myself. Of course, I hang out with a lot of Stoics, so that kind of rubs off on me. I don't expect anybody else to be that way. And I don't even think it's a bad thing, but there's part of me that wants to be able to express this feminine side, which I have a way of doing it with this, making these videos in a way that it's just me talking and me becoming myself again. After so many years of being called a moron and being told that the history doesn't matter, it gets punched out of us, the beauty. And I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm going to express the fucking weird, crazy, wild, feminine side. And even if that means I get weird stares, which obviously I have a problem with because I'm saying that. But yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's go. I think that's what I get from this myth is that there needs to be a changing of the guard. Things just, they're not working out the way that they are. And if we continue on this path, we become the computers. We become devoid of emotion and all things that make us human. And I like humans, most of them. So, especially with Mars having been retrograde, it just felt to me like I had hit a brick wall and there was no moving forward. And now things are moving forward. So, anyway, with all that being said, there's big changes happening in astrology the coming week and the coming months. February, March, really, April. It's going to be a lot of action. So I'm excited to be reporting on that. And with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. I'll be back very soon. So hope to see you there. Hello, world, and welcome back to another episode from Beyond the Matrix. My name is Sarah, and today we're going to be talking about Saturn. Oh, no, we're not. Bitch. No. Hello, world, and welcome back to another episode from Beyond the Matrix. My name is Sarah, and today we're going to be talking about the moon and all of the aspects that the moon will be making for the week. Sun. We're talking about the fucking sun. Okay. Jesus Christ.